All right, welcome back, True Seeker. Having some computer issues today. You ever have it where like the buttons that you would click on the screen, it just none of them will work? I have to keep resetting the browser. I finally just restarted the whole computer. Seems to have solved the problem. But anyway, just going to go over some of the top headlines. Of course, a lot of people sweating it out right now. Is their EBT card going to get restocked for the month of November? Some people's card needs to be restocked and it can't because the program is suspended. If you're not aware, the SNAP program created shortly after the Civil Rights Act. Again, that was July 2nd, 1964, August 31st, 1964. That's when the Food Stamp Act was passed, which is where the SNAP program comes from, that obviously a lot of Americans use to pay for their grocery bills. And we're living at a time where groceries have never cost so much, along with energy to run the car, to heat and cool the house. So, really crucial moment for a lot of people. And for the first time since its inception, the program is on the verge of not being funded. And for all people out there making videos saying, this is dumb, the Democrats had a longer shutdown and nobody complained. Well, the difference is there's a contingency fund to run the SNAP program, and the government that's in power has chosen to not use the contingency fund to fund the SNAP program if they can't reopen the government. And I imagine they've done that as a bargaining chip to reach an agreement. Now, what I want to show is how, again, I don't advocate for the Republicans or the Democrats over here. I can't stand the federal government. I know both parties are bought and paid for, and they play us all for fools. And I find it sad that anybody has any allegiance to either party or votes for any of these federal stooges. What I show on a daily basis is how they play us for fools kabbalistically, and how literally, the word used correctly, literally everything they do is Kabbalistic ritual, including what they're doing with SNAP right now. I'm going to get to how the program is 61 years old and how the due date is Halloween. There's an irony to it being on Halloween, where people, as young people, they're used to going to doors and getting adults to give them free food, and it's often junk food, just like most Americans fill up their grocery carts with junk food, including people who are on EBT. But again, the program's 61 years old. Halloween's the day leaving 61 days left in the year. And Halloween is also 61 days after the August 31st anniversary of the program being created. Well, again, we'll cover why that 61 number is so important. So we'll get to that in a second. If you remember the Sonya Massey story, it was one of those rituals by the numbers. The police killed a woman on the 187th day of the year, a 187, July 6th, or I should say what's typically the 187th day of the year. Technically, it happened in a leap year. But the officer responsible for that found guilty of second-degree murder today. We're going to go over what is the obvious perfect ritual to the follow-up killing that we covered more than a year ago. So, again, if it's in the mainstream news, rest assured it's by the numbers. We've talked about flooding in 25 all year, and it's not the first time we've seen a massive flood story and then report 25 dead. Just a reminder, all you get in the news are rituals by the numbers. Zero chance that that's the actual real number. 25 people killed in Haiti from Hurricane Melissa. No. Bullshit. The point of this channel is to learn what's really going on with news media reporting, the way your government operates, and how it's all done Kabbalistically, where within Kabbalah, there's this practice of coding numbers into words, and these numbers have meaning. Again, just in case you missed the end of yesterday's stream, King Richard called in and talked about the rapper from No Limit who performed in the Verses this weekend, the Battle of the New Orleans labels, Cash Money and No Limit, where No Limit was declared the winner. And one of those performances was given by the No Limit soldier, Young Bleed. I haven't seen the performance, but everyone says he looked healthy as ever. He was full of energy. And then right after the performance, all of a sudden he's on his deathbed in the ICU. And there's no explanation for why, but he is 47 years old right now. And we see this all the time on the world of entertainment. These entertainers going out by the number connected to their entertainment career. Like in his case, his rap name was Young Bleed. We'll talk more about that. And keep in mind that performance was on the day that the Lil Durk associate was shot to death. But also in the headlines, former battle rapper from 106 in Park. We talked about 106 in Park a lot. Also dead at a pretty young age, 43 and 44. And again, just bodies piling up during the time of another sports championship. There's been quite a few celebrity deaths here in the last week. And something I point out year after year when the sports championships come around, just a lot of bodies pile up from the world of entertainment. And nothing new this time around either. If you took the over, as sad as I'm to say, I said, you guys think there's going to be more or less than what I say? Did I say it 3.5 or 2.5? Either way, it'd be on the over. Celebrity deaths in the time of the World Series. Took the over. You won. RIP. It's sad. You know, I don't mean to make a joke out of it, but this goes on all the time and nobody notices. I don't know how, but somehow, some way, nobody seemed to notice. Nobody seemed to care. Who said that? George Carlin? I think that was part of George Carlin's skit. Anyway, the Food Stamp Act, where the SNAP program comes from. Again, Food Stamp Act in 1964. We're going to get to how it was enacted by the 88th Congress. Because, of course, the Trump, or should we call it the 88 administration, is being sued for not using the contingency fund to fund it. But notice, it was signed into law by Lyndon Johnson on August 31st. And the date to fund it for November is Halloween, or I think it should be known as Reformation Day, against the day that Martin Luther pinned the 95 Theses to the door of Castle Church, at least so the history books say. Anyway, it is 61 days after the 61st anniversary of the program. And once again, October 31st does leave 61 days left in the year. And in Gematria, Washington, D.C. is 61, and that's where the capital is, where the decision needs to be made to fund the program. But yeah, I was thinking about how perfect that is, and I was just thinking about, children, Halloween, the day they go out and essentially get free food from the adults, from the taxpayers. And there are people in this world who do need assistance. You know, some horrible misfortunes happen to them. They need a little help from the community to get back on their feet, to reestablish themselves so that they can get back into a place where they provide for themselves and can help others. But then there are people who literally leech off welfare and make it a point to live off welfare. And when there's all these government handouts, it creates the door for people to cheat and get those government handouts. Sweet lady works with a gentleman who's in a relationship with a woman where they're not, how do they do it again? Yeah, they're not married, but they've been together for almost 20 years and they have multiple children and they really do live together, but they make it look like she's a single mother. So they also get the benefits of single motherhood I'm not trying to like rat out this person that she works with, but I'm just making the point. There's a lot of stories like this because if you cheat the system, you can get that extra government money. And again, that money's not free. That money's coming from people who pay taxes, and taxes are ridiculous. And governments are looking for more and more ways to tax people. And again, with the things that government allocates money to, I'd rather my money go to helping out people who are in need, especially poor children who need to get fed, than, the military industrial complex so that we can blow up brown people that have nothing to do with that day in September where all this stuff's still going on. But yeah, there is something about people who would rather just live off the government than go out and be providers and use their able, capable bodies. And yeah, so I do see both sides of this issue, but I also just think about, Halloween, children getting free food, people who never really grew up, who have this childlike attitude that they need somebody to take care of them and provide for them because it's out there. And also the phrase that goes with trick or treat or, Halloween trick or treat. If the program gets funded, people would see that as a treat. And no doubt with their EBT cards, they will be buying treats because that's how America eats. I mean, it's not just people who are poor. You go out to the grocery store, you look in most people's cart, it's an epidemic. It's full of junk food and soda and just all kinds of crap and processed food and hardly anything from the produce section. It's tragic. But yeah, this is a game. This is a game that they're playing right now, and it is some kind of sick little joke. And about trick or treat, another word for trick is when women who have to feed their family, they got to make some money, and the only way they can is go out and turn in tricks. I mean, there's probably I'm sure you guys have seen all the videos that are viral online. People putting the collages together of people crying online about what they're going to do when their EBT card goes out. They're going to go rob the store. Neighborhood better look out. Yeah, when people are put in a desperate place, there's all kinds of different avenues people turn to, but the reality America needs to think about is what is going on in this little game they're playing right now. You see the writings on the wall for humanity. AI phasing out all kinds of jobs. The government being essentially kept afloat by all this printed stimulus money, just everything being pumped up through the roof. House of Cards. Don't forget when Trump ran for president the first time, the hit show was House of Cards. The market's up in the 47K range. I told you that was coming. And I said, how long until it's in the 47K range? By the way, I asked that when he first took office. Just for the record, you guys, the market hit 47K for the first time 111 days after Trump's birthday. New York guy, like Wall Street's in New York. If you missed that, it was exactly 111 days after Trump's birthday that the market hit 47K for the first time. Little shout out to New York and Wall Street and where Trump's from. Again, the whole game is rigged, but yeah, all these things they're little previews of what will eventually come. That right now they love all the social media, all the people panicking, all the stress they're creating. It's like the monsters in Monsters Inc. who live off the fear of people. There are a lot of people who are really stressed out right now that this program's not going to get funded this month, and then they're going to have to figure out what to do in November. And I'm not saying that it is guaranteed that they are going to fund it on Halloween, but if they do, I'll get the joke. I'll get the joke of why they did it on that day, so that the people who, again, there's a lot of people on welfare that don't need to be on welfare because they do have a childlike attitude and they want somebody to take care of them rather than go out and provide for themselves. So yeah, just understand the ritual and how 61 it is. And by the way, 61's the 18th prime number and EBT equals 18. That's the card you have. But most people don't have food stamps anymore. Back in the day, you had food stamps. Now most people have EBT cards, which are food stamps like in a credit card form. And I still remember. I still remember that. I told this story the day it happened. It's crazy the way time flies. It must have been 2017 because it was the first time we came out to Yakima, so Sweet Lady could check out the campus. It's crazy. I remember like it was yesterday. I'm having trouble believing it's almost 10 years ago now. But I was at the gas station filling up the car, and the pump, or I went in to pay for cash. And I was going to put $20 in the car. And keep in mind, from Yakima to where we lived just north of Seattle, God, what is it like? I forget. Around 150 miles. And the car we had at the time got probably about 35 miles a gallon. And gas back then was probably $3. And I already had probably a quarter tank. So I was going to put $20 in the car. And there was a gentleman in there and he got turned down because they said, oh, your EBT card doesn't pay for this. And he was all upset. And I said, well, hold on. I said, I can help him out. How much is what he needs? And it was about $10. So I gave him the 10 so he could get what he needed. And I knew if I put $10 in my car, it would get me enough gas to get back home. And I remember what he said when I did it for him. He looked back at he didn't say thank you to me. He looked back at the cash register guy and says, "See, Jesus is always looking out." And I thought that was interesting at the time. I was like, look at that. He doesn't even say thank you to me, but then he gives praise to Jesus. And that's part of the whole thing about religion, too. Religion's got people living in the clouds and hoping for miracles to come save them. And anyway, it's a whole nother thing, but I'll always remember that. And then the other thing I told at the time when I told that story for anybody who was around is I did look down at my clock because I had to pick up my sweet lady at 2 when she was getting out. And it was literally 1:51 when he said that. And I said, look at that. That's kind of weird. It is 1:51 local time when he said, Jesus is always looking out. That was part of the reason I told that story at the time. I thought it was funny, but yeah, he didn't give thanks to me. He gave thanks to Jesus, which it was fine. I did it to help him out, not even for him to say thank you. I still remember it like it was yesterday. But coming back to this, you see how down here, just for the record, what he was trying to buy at the gas station was the like fried food that they have up there. For whatever reason, they wouldn't take the EBT card for that. You could use it like on the Doritos chips, but not the fried food that was ready to go in their little heater thing. Anyway, you see how it says 25 states are suing Trump over the SNAP thing? 25, right? And the SNAP program came out of the 88th Congress. I mean, how many times have we seen this stuff, you guys? Trump. Again, learn your 4 base ciphers. Alphabetic order. Trump's 88. A gazillion 88 rituals with Trump. Most recently, Charlie Kirk, 88 days after his birthday. With numerology, Trump, 25. With the reverse alphabetic order, 47. With the reverse alphabetic order and numerology, 29. And remember, Trump retakes office in 2025, and he'll be out in 2029, assuming he makes it to the end and they don't pull a McKinley like the 25th president, like he renamed Mount Denali McKinley, who got replaced by Teddy Roosevelt, whose birthday actually just passed, his birthday anniversary on Monday. Again, J.D. Vance, they've drawn parallels to him and Teddy Roosevelt. They're the 2 youngest VP nominees, and Teddy Roosevelt got shot in Milwaukee, where J.D. Vance became the VP nominee. But yeah, again, just ritualism, just being played with by this code. Here's another example. Just going to be any more 61, and 61 goes right back to the capital, Washington, D.C., and it fits in with EBT. All right, the Sonya Massey thing. So, again, former police officer Sean Grayson guilty of second-degree murder and Sonya Massey shooting. And this news comes today, and they have to tell you that the verdict was reached at 2:28 p.m. Interesting number, huh? United States of America equals 228, like death. It reminds of a Slipknot song, Gematria, the killing name, where they say America's a killing name. Martin Luther King Jr. equals 228, the only born American with a holiday named after him, and he had to die for it. They said deliberations began at about 8:30 a.m. Should remind you that the word murder equals 83, and the song Murder by Numbers by the Police came out in 83, and this is about a police officer killing a woman. But today is 115 days after the July 6th death anniversary, and apparently I didn't put the screenshot in there, so here, let's just see that today is 115 days later. And 115 is no slouch of a number. You know, killings 115, so is Masonic, so is Lucifer. And just for the record, the most important cipher outside the base ciphers, you know, again, the one Derek renamed Latin, killing's also 115 in that cipher. So it's a deadly number, 115. And remember the 5th of November. It's the day the Jesuits tried to kill King James in history. It was the failed assassination attempt, just like how that was the election day after Trump's supposed failed assassination attempt. And there was more to the 115 in the Trump assassination on July 13th than I'm remembering right now. But anyway, coming back, this happened in Springfield, Illinois, which also equals 115. It was July 6th that this happened. That's George W. Bush's birthday, and it can be written 7-6 or 6-7, and it reminds that George Washington died at 67. But 7-6, we know that code. Let me get rid of this cipher. Slave, Negro, Blues, Rasta. We see it all the time. George Foreman dead at 76, who won 76 fights. O.J. Simpson dead at 76 as the Masters tees off when the word Masters 76. Again, O.J. death sync with Super Bowl 59. Shortly after Super Bowl 59, slaves obey your masters. Ephesians 6, verses 5 through 9. But yeah, the date can also be written 6-7. killer 67, blood sacrifice 67, human sacrifice 67. And typically July 6th is the 187th day of the year. Homicide code that the police use. Again, this woman killed by a police officer. And now this today. And one other thing actually I didn't look at, let's just check it out real quick. From July 6th, 2024, the day it happened, to the verdict today, 480 days later, huh? 480. 68 weeks and 4 days. Interesting. Oh, one thing I did forget to say about the 67 thing. Police officer, also 67. Isn't that interesting how police officer 67 like killer? And you got that song by the Police, Murder by Numbers. The 68 weeks and days later reminds that the drummer for the Police, Stuart Copeland, his dad was in the CIA. The 68 organization. All of these divisive stories they put in the media to make sure everybody hears about. And then they execute them all by the numbers. All right. And then just, again, 25 people killed from Hurricane Melissa. I mean, please. Just the word death is also 25. Talked about this yesterday when we talked about the dead rapper on the 25th. It's just, yeah, it's just such obviously fake reporting. And it's just, it almost seems lazy the way they just do the same thing over and over. But again, it's because they're using a system that you got to be really hard-headed not to see. Young Bleed 47 years old, performs on this popular Versus show, and then just boom, next thing you know, rumors online that he's dead, and then his family comes out and says, no, he's not dead. He's hanging on in the ICU, but no explanation. Again, the performance date was October 25th, the day leaving 67 days left in the year, the same day that the Lil Durk associate got killed. And speaking of 67, look at what you have right here. Posta Boy, the battle rapper from 106 in Park. Well, first of all, dead on the 46th day of his age, sacrificed 46 like Genesis 46. His birth name is Sherrard Dixon, 67, like human sacrifice, like blood sacrifice. As I mentioned yesterday, these celebrity deaths, just the same old numbers pop up over and over. And like I said, that 67 happens a lot. And as you guys pointed out yesterday, Genesis 6:7. When that was called, I was like, oh, yeah, never mind. I've made that same point before. Genesis 6:7 is when God starts plotting on killing humanity. Genesis 6:7. So the Lord said, I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race I have created. So, yeah, that's probably part of the reason. Like I said, these people are using this Kabbalistic knowledge and playing God. And in case you're new here, 106 in Park. Remember, black equals 106. Black Lives Matter equals 106. The motto, I can't breathe, equals 106. Somebody's at the door and I got to hop off to Truth Seeker. So it's time to go get Sweet Girl. But anyway, we'll leave it there for now. Again, thank you to everyone who hits the like and the share. And I do see this comment out here, right here. I got a comment on this before I leave. What's up, Ron Gary, longtime veteran? He says, we need to grow our own food and raise our own cattle and chicken. Again, humanity, I think at some point it'll happen out of necessity. I don't think it's going to happen until people are absolutely forced into it. But I think in a way, those people will be blessed when society has to go back to the way our ancestors once lived. Having community, raising your own food, having to cooperate with your neighbors, work together to survive. That's what you see. Like, humanity's so far from nature right now. We live in a system. And again, it's controlled by very few entities and very few powerful entities. I mean, almost all of the food that is delivered to the stores is coming from a small group of agricultural giants. And those people are in the food business, not because they care about great food, but because they care about making a lot of money. And again, just the chemicals and the practices and the toxicity and this population where more and more. I mean, how annoying is it, you guys? All these fundraisers for cancer, and you're watching the baseball game, and some big corporation just cut a check for $5 million to do cancer research. It's just like, I mean, can we stop with all this? And all the money spent on cancer research, and with each passing year, more and more young people are less and less healthy and more likely to get cancer. But you can't point out the things that are clearly causing it, because then you're spreading misinformation. It's like, well, what else could it be besides all the toxicity in the world? Not even that long ago, you guys, they didn't really use fertilizer to grow food. That's something that happened post World War II. And sure, you can get a lot bigger production out of your lot and make a whole lot more money, but there's also a lot of chemicals in there. And then what do those chemicals do once they get in your body? And again, I mean, in the animals, the produce, or not the produce, but the livestock that people eat. I mean, most meat that people can afford today is the kind that's pumped full of all kinds of steroids and hormones to make those animals really big, really fast. And I think that's why you see in children, children getting bigger and bigger. I mean, sweet lady just had some coworkers over to eat, and they were really short parents. A lot of Hispanics are there, Hispanic people, but I noticed their daughter, who was only 7, was already almost as tall as both parents, a 7-year-old girl. And it's just like, well, and that's the thing too. I mean, you don't even, they say organic and all this stuff. It says, oh, it doesn't have that in there. But do you even know if you didn't grow it yourself? I mean, you don't know. Somehow all of my sister's kids are all way bigger than the parents. It doesn't even make sense to me. I'm like, how's this even possible? I mean, they tower over the parents. I don't know how it's possible. I mean, they're just, all 4 children are way bigger than the parents. The daughter's the same height as the dad and a lot taller than my sister. But you see it all over the place. And I'm sure a lot of people know that, like, girls in recent decades are starting their periods a lot younger. And yeah, again, you eat meat that's given stuff to make them grow way bigger, way faster. Wouldn't it make sense that when you eat that meat, it goes in your body, it does the same thing to you? And maybe that's not all bad. I don't know. Maybe there's some benefits to being a lot bigger, but it could also be having some turmoil on your innards and your organs, and again, thus all the cancer and illness and disease we see in children. So anyway, yeah, I agree. I mean, and here's the thing too. It's even if you do grow your own food, it's even hard to know it. I guess if you have a greenhouse, but I mean, if you look up at the sky, I mean, what the hell are they spraying up there? It's just, is that good for the food? I mean, and then that's the maddening thing too. But what are you talking about spraying the sky? It's like, have you looked outside? Have you seen the tic-tac-toe patterns? Did you notice it was a blue day before they sprayed the shit out of the sky this morning, and now it's just a gray haze out there? Oh, look, all of a sudden it's raining. Weird. No, that's what's maddening too, that the majority of humanity seems to be oblivious to one of the most obvious things in the history of the world. Those tic-tac-toe patterns above. But yeah, anyway, I do got to wrap it up. Thanks again to everyone who hits the like and the share. Oh, thank you, Leopard Messiah. Appreciate it. Appreciate it, Leopard Messiah. Thanks for chipping in 5. I do appreciate it. You kept us from going broke today. Appreciate it, man. Thank you. All right, guys. Have a good one. And until next time.